Hi, welcome to Studio Life with Claire and Victoria. I'm Victoria.
Hey, I'm Claire.
And today we're going to talk about kind of a feature in Punchpass where you have some options, and we're going to kind of talk about the pros and cons of both. And specifically, this is around marking attendance. Marking attendance in Punchpass is really important because if you do anything like punch card based, where people have credits on their passes, and when they take a class, it marks them as deducting a credit from the pass. And so that's what attendance does. And we have the option where you can mark attendance. So you can say, yep, this person's here, this person's here, this person's here. Or you can turn on auto attendance for your studio. And yeah, people, I mean, obviously you pick one or the other, and there's definitely some variety as to why you might prefer one over the other. So Claire, tell me a little bit more about maybe auto attendance and
Yeah,
maybe
totally.
why people might like that.
For sure. So this is another feature where we sort of only had one way and then we have added the second way because of client, I was going to say demand. That sounds like they were being rude about it. Everyone was being perfectly lovely. But,
Yeah.
the requests of clients that they were looking for something a
Mm.
bit simpler. And especially I think during the pandemic when people were running a lot of online classes where maybe they had 40, 50 people showing up in a Zoom meeting and it was really difficult to know who was there and who was not. So they would set up auto attendance. And basically, what auto attendance does is it says to the system, assume that anyone with a reservation, when class time rolls around, showed up and came to class. So if you have 30 people on the list of reservations, once the class time happens, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to check everyone in. It's just going to say, all right, everyone came. And the beautiful thing about it is, if then after class you have a text message or an email or you notice that someone wasn't there, you can roll that back. That's no problem. You can make those adjustments from the admin side, make any corrections that you need to do. And a lot of studios started to find that a lot easier than checking in people one at a time, which is what you do with the other type of attendance taking.
Yeah. And so manual attendance where you're marking it yourself, usually as the instructor, although sometimes people have a front desk where you're checking people in. One of the reasons I like it as an instructor is I like, starting to do names and faces when, you see someone and you kind of get to see like, oh, there's their name, got it. Sometimes people put helpful information into their profile that might show up in the system during attendance. So if we on the admin side use something like flags or health status and
Mm.
information, sometimes it's cool to see that pop up in the attendance marking process. So it's kind of nice to see that. Or you could see maybe someone's membership payment failed. And then when I mark attendance, I
Right.
see that. And because I'm so familiar with Punchpass, I can, go in and be like, okay, let's talk about that, or like, let's do something about that. So I really like getting all that information. I think it's really helpful. But yeah, not everyone might need to do that. It kind of depends on your relationship with the studio and with your students.
Yeah, and I think it's especially important to remember that the majority of our clients these days have payment on file before they can make a reservation. So, for example, if someone has a 10 class pass, they'll limit that person to being able to make 10 reservations into the future, but not beyond that. If they have a drop in, they can book one class, that sort of thing. So, by the time people get to that point where they're on the reservations list, for the majority of our clients, not all of our clients, every single person there will have a pass on file. Some examples, like the one that Victoria brought up, when a membership payment failed, you'll still see that on the auto attendance report, but obviously you'll be seeing that later on. You'll probably see that after you finish teaching the class. Still plenty of time to follow up, just a different type of follow up. When you're checking people in one at a time, it's kind of nice to be able to say, oh, this is your last, visit on this pass. You're going to need to grab another one or whatever it is. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, I guess, two different vibes and two different ways that people want to approach
Yeah.
it. If they have lots of staff too, sometimes people don't want all their staff getting involved in that. So they'll just do the auto attendance. And then the
Mhm.
admin can sit at home with a cup of coffee and review everything and make any changes that need to happen, which is great.
Yeah. I would say that it's definitely important. Like, if you're doing auto attendance and instructors like add reservations for people, or
Mm,
you have standing reservations for people, you're going to need to just stay on top of people for
yeah.
payment more. So checking your like payments not received, or no pass attendance report is going to be pretty important if you're using the auto attendance. So you will
Yes.
want to check on your reports maybe a little bit more often as opposed to if you're just checking it during attendance as you're marking.
We also have one more option that we kind of forgot in this little moment, which is a self check
Yeah.
in option, which is the option where you can have a tablet, set it up on your front desk. You know, maybe you're going about your business, setting up the room, doing what you need to do, and your students can check themselves in. So whether they've got a
Mhm.
reservation or they've just dropped in, they can come and they can mark themselves as attending. You still have, again, the full chance to review, make any changes. They'll come and see you if they don't have a pass, that sort of thing. But
Mhm.
that can be really handy and hands off if you don't have a dedicated staff member at the front desk and you want to free up your instructors to be doing other things while those people are walking through the front door.
Yeah, definitely. I think self check-in is sometimes, yeah, overlooked. It was really a nice feature we built again during the pandemic because there's a nice QR code that pops up so people could use their
Yeah,
own handheld
touchless.
device.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So three good
cool.
options.
Great
Yeah,
option.
we can help you explore if you want to look at them. But yeah, all good
Yeah,
options, just depending on
and
what you want your work to look like.
you could also change your mind. You could try one and say, do we like it? No, maybe not. Maybe we'll switch back.
It's one big switch, so that's always handy too.
Yeah, you're not stuck.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.